Howdy, folks. Today it's my great pleasure to introduce the MiM Dark Magician to the Shortbus recommendation list. I actually didn't get this right away. Thank God I've got a great crew of audiophile hobbyists that know my taste, shall we say, and TFADUH, man, thank you so much for bringing this to everybody's attention, making me get the set and like, oh my God. So it has been a long time since I've had this much fun with a headphone. Probably since the original EG07, actually, which is saying quite a lot, at least for myself. So I have a lot to talk about. Generally, I'm like, I'm not going to yap too much. Well, guess what? Today I'm yapping, and it's going to be a lot. All right, I have a lot of notes, things to talk, and, talk about understated. This is just a one dynamic driver. I think it's 10.2 millimeter DLC, or sorry, carbon nanotube, actually. 10.2. The shell is a, actually, well, it's metal. It's like aluminum. For my usages, first off, I can't break this easily. It fits my ears perfectly. It's actually extremely tiny compared to a lot of the like resin custom stuff that, is out there. 2-pin headphone jack. The cable is actually really gorgeous. Unfortunately, it's microphonic, so I can't run with it, but it's a fabric-coated, copper cable. But it's long enough and supple enough. It doesn't tangle easily. It's really soft, and I enjoy it, but I can't use it running, but whatever. It's a good one. Actually, I forgot to get the box. I'll grab that towards the end of the review today. It's a nice little metal case for it, which is actually fantastic quality. And so let's talk about things. I'll get to my graph in a moment or some. I want to just talk about okay, first off, the fit and the finish on this thing is excellent. For my ears, it fits me perfectly. It has actually a nice level of isolation, although I'll get to this. The isolation is, or could be more if it was a slightly different headphone. So I'm not faulting it for that at all. Like if I'm running or even if there's wind blowing, I'm not hearing anything, like extra, shall we say. So good to go on that. Happy with the isolation. Build quality. These are, I believe, handmade, very small batches. DIY guy out of Singapore. Sold by a fellow named Ethan. Ethan Music 7. Is how I found him on Linsole originally, on the chat rooms there at Discord. Oops, sorry. So there's really not a whole lot to look at in terms of, fancy schmancy headphones, but man, these have it where it counts in the sound quality. And like I said, the cable I actually don't mind. I feel like people that enjoy high quality cables will like this cable, aesthetics notwithstanding. Okay, so how would we describe the overall tuning of the MiM Dark Magician? And I would say that I would actually call it neutral. Generally, well, okay, so by neutral, I mean that nothing really seems to poke out of the tuning. You don't have a lot of like mids compared to bass, compared to treble. It is, and by the way, you can see me yapping here. Yeah, so it's fairly neutral in terms of what I hear. Now, having said that, like you might think maybe a neutral headphone is boring or something, and the answer is this headphone is the very opposite of boring. It is shocking, absolutely shocking. So I don't talk about this a lot, but dynamics on this thing are actually that was one of the first things that popped into my head. Ultra huge dynamics on this thing. Some reviewers might call it macro dynamics. As per my favorite sets, this is a volume set. The more you turn it up, the better it sounds to me anyway. So it volume scales like a boss. What's interesting, maybe compared to the EG07, is that they actually sound pretty dang reasonable and detailed at a lower level. And as you turn them up, that reasonable amount of detail does not turn into a shocking amount of hurt the ears type of piercy quality. So that is just phenomenal. Okay, so let's talk about a few things. Boy, I have a lot to talk about. I'm probably gonna miss something, but I'll try my best. All right, so this is the listing on, this is where I got it myself off of Carousel. It's just above this, but $7.99 Singapore bucks, which comes out to 600 American dollars. And You know, you might be thinking, Jesus, that's expensive for a one dynamic driver. And the answer is, hell no, it's not. You should pay every cent of this and like it. It sounds crass and, you know, like heady and whatever, and I'm a rich guy. Nah, like in terms of the hobby, these are, well, at least for me, it's a once in a lifetime type of set. So far, it's really like that. So I'm very happy with the $600, and I think it's very worth it. I won't really mention this, but he could charge more and it would still be worth it. So there we go. Just for the whole package, really. All right, so let's move on to something else. Let me pull a graph up. There's the critical graph with the MiM Dark Magician. Starting with the, now, and this is kind of one of the things, and this is one of the things, this is why I didn't buy this set right away. When I first looked at it, I was like, yeah, no, it's got the dippy dips, it's got some weird crap in there, it's not a lot of bass or something, sub bass rolls off, and, you know, things like that. And then, so I really wasn't expecting to think much of it, you know, standard, decent dynamic driver, something. And then, no, when I listen to this graph doesn't tell really any of the picture at all, other than like, well, maybe it's neutral. And I could say that for like rock and roll, you do have a decent amount of low mids and high mid bass, which leads to a nice, relatively good replay for old classic rock. Just one of the things that popped into my head for that. In terms of the pin gain, it is... well, it's in ballpark in terms of what I have talked about a lot. If I pull up something else, let's try this one, EG07. So, you know, that just shows you it's a little less pinna than the EG07. And also, which is interesting, between 5K and we'll say the 8K peak. In fact, the EG07 does seem a little more relaxing, shall we say, a little more forgiving, really, is what it ends up being for me. So... The Dark Magician comes in with a little more transient, percussive, extra energy for my ears. But here's a big difference, is that we're talking about a dynamic driver doing that with the Dark Magician versus the EG07, which has got probably balanced armatures, Sonyans, and also the EST drivers, probably in that range. Anyways, it's the point I'm trying to make about that is that it is actually better than you might expect from the graph. Talked to actually a couple people and they're like, yeah, I get that. Also, just looking at this, the energy over 10K is absolutely there, and it's got it, which is fantastic. Similar to the EG07, which doesn't really show this on the graph. Never mind that. Okay. And as far as, let's just look down. You know, in terms of the subs, what are this? This is 50 hertz. Sorry, I'm covering it up with my video, but 50 hertz is sort of where these two, I don't know, you could align these differently, but basically the EJ's got quite a bit more energy at 20 to 30 hertz. However, this dynamic driver does not, and I mean not, come across as lean at all. And I'll get to this in a moment, but you can actually tune this guy quite easily. So anyway, let's pull up another graph. Oh yeah, so, and this is how we're tuning. I'll just, yeah. So that's like Paul Wasabi. Thank you, Paul, for this graph. Very, very helpful. What we can see here is this is like the stock tuning. I know this is slightly different than criticals. Don't worry about that. It's not important. But what is important is if the front vent on this guy, so let's just flip over to this real quick like. So the front vent on these guys is actually on the bore tube right there. See that guy, that little pinhole right there? And the back vent is on the shell somewhere about, sorry, right there, back vent. So front vent, back vent. If you plug the front vent, this is what you end up getting. Boom, 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 boom. Like maybe a tiny bit of differences in the treble there with the extra bass, which actually is like good. You know, like you can call it a little more V-shaped, but like that's really cool. So basically you just slide your tips backwards on these bad boys. Well, if you have some complies or something like I do, plug the vent and you get some great bass head style bass. You can amp that up with EQ and like, holy shit, basically. All right. Sorry. So let me go back to, I'm not going to get to my graph yet. What's this one? Yeah. So that's kind of like the graph stuff I wanted to show more or less. Okay, so I want to talk about, let's just go back to this. This is my impressions of the sound before I get into my chart. So like I said, this has macro dynamics that are absolutely stunning. It's like Godzilla-sized, huge open sound. Unbelievable. And I was thinking about this a lot, and it's like, why does this headphone sound so, I'm not going to say super different, but it sounds like well, a lot different than a lot of IEMs, we'll say that. And the answer is because I believe this front vent here, wherever it is on, you know, on the tip here, on the bore, that gives this headphone a over-the-ear, big can mojo and sound. It does not sound like your ears are like air plugged. And it still is able to provide an amazing level of rich lows and thick note weight, which is like, holy crap. So when I realized what I was sort of, how that hit me, then, you know, a lot more of this made sense. And in fact, if you plug the bore tip on these guys, that front vent, you will get a more traditional IEM sub-bassy sound. And if you unplug it, which is the stock tuning, you will get a more open back, open headphone sound, which is just like, and you get all of the benefits of the staging and the openness, the organicness of that open sound. Just holy shit. It's just a big holy shit for me. And yeah, I mean, on the first video of this, that was my first impressions with this, and it's just gotten better and better over time, which is, yeah, that's cool, man. All right, so in terms of the sound of this, it is really quite similar to me to speakers in a room, whereas maybe the EJ might let's say it's a venue, EJ is going to put you, say, maybe in the middle of the audience. You get a lot of echo and reverb, whereas this guy will put you a little more front towards the front row, towards the band, a little more in your face, but holy God, is there a great amount of 3D and stuff swirling around your head. As far as that goes, the 3D is absolutely phenomenal. It's up, down, left, right, behind you. A couple of my friends said it's ball imaging, which is like there's this globe around your head where sound is coming from. Not a circle, it's 3D. It's just freaking wow, just amazing. And then you combine that with the open back nature and just... Anyways, let me, so I've got some notes here. I'm going to just talk here. Okay, so when you turn these up, the volume scaling is phenomenal. They provide an incredible level of air into your eardrums, that visceral punch that is, well, it's very addictive to me in any case. So I keep, you know, visceral open sound. These things are like that, like Godzilla-sized, man. They scale incredibly well for better tracks, better mixed tracks, tracks with Easter eggs, OCD details, phase stuff, reverbs, all of that. Like, the better it is, the less, like, you know, older tracks that maybe were just like, I don't know, a couple microphones shoved in a room and just, you know, those old style recordings, those come across cool. They're okay. I would like the EJ on those better. But when you're talking about a super high quality track, these things, wow, holy shit, they will take you on a ride, a fun ride, man. Super fun. Far as let's talk about a few things. So the bass on this, I would call it's pretty well perfect, like neutral perfect. It provides a amazing amount of low end richness to note weight. It doesn't pound your ears with sub bass air, as some people don't like, although you can achieve that effect. So basically, the bass is absolutely phenomenal. The texture is just off the charts. It's super freaking good. It does give me the impression of two subwoofers in a room. So, you know, holy shit, man. And it provides a good amount of mid bass and low mids to for older recordings that might need that sort of tuning. So I love it for that. As far as the mids go, they will make a baby cry. They make me cry. I'm a baby. So, you know, like the mids on these are incredibly emotional. Female vocals, male vocals, they don't come across thin or anything other than just how they should be. You know, oh God, Frank Sinatra just hit me perfect. God, like, you know, some reggae singers that are much more gravelly and bassy. Just, oh man, the textures on the vocals, Jesus Christ. Saxophones, I could go on and on. Violins, acoustic music, Jesus Christ. What kind of stuns me about that is the tactility, like the textures flying out of these headphones is just takes me on an incredible ride. It makes me so happy. It's just amazing. Just real quick, do they beat the Oxygens? Yeah. Moving on. So for me, as far as the treble goes, so this is a really interesting part of this set. The treble is in a very, very perfect place. As you turn up, it will not pierce your ears. You will get amazing OCD details, but they're like, I don't know. It's hard to explain this. They're like macro OCD details. Like it makes them like bigger, like easier to hear, more vibrant in your ears. You know, that rather than like piercy twinkles, the twinkles are like oh god, they're just, you know, they have texture and vibrancy, and just the dynamics of them is incredible. And Jesus, the treble is really special on these. So if I compared to the EG07, which actually was one of the bigger things I was trying to nail down, I mean, geez, it's like, you know, at this point, it's like comparing my left to my right nut. I love both of them and I need both of them, you know, like it's like that. In any case, the EJ comes across a little more forgiving for older tracks, stuff like that. It's definitely going to have a little bit of a better replay. This one might scale, the Dark Magician might scale a little better, possibly for higher end tracks. But this is really up to taste. These guys are brothers, the EJ and the DM. They have very, very much of the same mojo, slightly different ways of portraying it. The DM is going to have the ultra coherency of a one dynamic driver, and I think that's probably part of the magic versus, say, like a Tribrid. I mean, you know, there's goods and bad sides to that, apparently, because once you hear something like this, you realize, well, you know, it is very hard to get a multi-driver set as coherent as what this sounds like, which is like, holy shit. So that, you know, any case, let's talk about the imaging on this guy. The imaging, man. Wow. Sorry, peek that out. Wow, the imaging is just stunning, man. Left to right, stuff up, down, you know, depth stuff is like just the incredible like height and or I should say the 3D spatial positioning of sounds. It just is stunning. I have like some electronic tracks. I put them on and it like makes me dizzy. It's like stuff is flying around my head in 3 dimensions. That is just, wow, just god damn. All right, so kind of go over my notes as I go here. Timbre. The timbre on this is amazing. Everything hits me perfectly. Note weight is amazing. Acoustic instruments, electronic instruments, guitars, vocals, just the timbre is just up there, man. Near the best I've ever heard, if not the best. The bass control, just thought I'd say this. I think I said, you know, it's extremely excellent. You will in no way ever hear it being flappy or floppy or poofy. None of that stuff. It hits just like a track should hit. If it's got a good amount of, like, say, you know, kick drums on some older classic rock, those suckers just boom, man. You hear the boom like it's in a room. And you know, on that subject, percussives. They have like cymbals. They'll give you that little sizzle, that high-end sizzle, like as if you're listening to in a room, but it's in a pleasurable way rather than a not so nice way. All right, and so in terms of that, depending on the track, the EJ or the Dark Magician is going to win in mids, and I was about to give it to the Dark Magician, but I found a few places where the EJ actually does a little better. So there's that. But like I said, man, left to right nut, I need both of them, man. This sucker is, it's up there. A couple notes, I just went for a walk and took these. Let's see. Oh, layering. The layering on this is like next level layering, especially for a dynamic driver. You'd think there was tons of drivers in this thing. It's seriously like that. It's just amazing. You'll have, you know, a soundscape. Each instrument is occupies its own layer, and each layer has its own texture and timbre. It's just Jesus, amazing. Yeah, so that's to kind of shrink my notes down a little bit. But whew, all right, let's talk about the graph not the graph, my chart. Let's move on to that. All right, you will see the Dark Magician is up there. Oh my God, for me, it's not so much does it beat the EG07, because both of these are my favorite, and that's the damn truth. I think that if you prefer a slightly more visceral sound, then maybe the Dark Magician over the EJ, which is slightly more laid back, but both of them are my favorite. So let's just start with this. Exceptional factor. Yep, that is true. It can't be anything other than that. Every time I listen to these, I just pretty much... you know, I have I go nuts, actually. It just makes me so happy. So 11 out of 10. Accuracy, we'll give a 9.5. How could I fix the accuracy? I actually might add a little subs, but like I said, in the case of this tuning, if you plug the front bore tube vent, you get a much more closed-in atmospheric type sound. So don't know how you could do it, but yeah, just that a little more subs maybe would make this give it the full 10. But no, is it faltering in any way. Wideness, a 10. Battled around actually with an 11. It's phenomenal. Holy crap. But let's just stick with a 10. I talked about that a bit. 10 out of 10. 3D is going to be 10 out of 10. Now, if we talk about the EJ versus this, the EJ just has this weird magic special extra factor for 3D, and the Dark Magician has almost all of it, I think, but I think the EJ does more of it on more tracks than the Dark Magician does, like maybe forgiveness factor, not entirely sure, but it is what it is. So 10 out of 10 3D. Imaging will give a 9. I guess maybe you could get a hair better with like a billion balanced armatures, this electrostatics, whatever. Possibly a different tuning with a little more push treble, but overall, 9 out of 10. Volume scaling, 10 out of 10. Basically, what by that I mean, the EJ just is a little better, but it's my favorite. You can turn these up to full blast. Also, by the way, they soak up power. On my LG phone, I can turn it up full blast, and that's well, almost loud enough for a lot of stuff. But I recommend, you feed a top-of-the-line set, top-of-the-line power, and you will get the goods. So same thing with this guy. However, it is fine for portable use, actually, for most people, which is, oh, thank God for that. Volume scaling 10. Bass is going to be a 9, and that's strictly because it rolls a little bit of the subs off, but it doesn't bother me, and I probably would have it no other way. So 9 out of 10. Mids are going to get a 10. They are up there with the EJ and anything else that is my favorite, although I probably should have given them 11, quite honestly, because they do come across slightly better than some of the other sets on some tracks. So whatever, 10 out of 10. And Treble will give a 9. I might change that to a 10 at some point, but I'll know when. I don't know. Well, we'll give it a 9 out of 10. You heard what I said. It's this vibrant, incredible, textured, dynamic macro treble that, holy crap. And then for resolution, we'll give them an 8. I actually thought about this a little bit. I think the electrostatics provide just a little bit of extra oomph in that area. The resolution, just a little bit, as you would expect. Those drivers have minuscule mass membranes, and they should do that. Anyways, and I think I hear that. All right, so moving on. Pressure buildup, none. The Dark Magician is vented all over the place. In fact, it's one of the most vented. Let's see. Isolation, we'll give it a 3. And binaural, we're going to give a 5. I tried some binaural tracks, and it was like, yep, that'll do it. That's automatic style badassness. So, killer. This is one of the most shocking sets I've heard in forever, and I can't recommend it more. And you will probably have a long wait on this. Oh, by the way, you could buy it from the carousel link. I'll put that in the link in the description. You can buy it from Linsole, actually. They're starting to sell this, which is probably great because probably easier for some folks to order them from Linsole. What else is there to say? It has been a long time since I've had this much fun reviewing a headset. It is truly, truly a stunning, masterfully tuned IEM that I can recommend to anybody. And I think that anybody that follows me and at least appreciates my ratings and things, just get one of these things, man. Treat yourself. Treat yourself. Thank you, my crew that made me buy these. I owe you guys a ton for this. I might not have done it if you hadn't pushed me. And Shortbus